Well, I tell you, 10 years ago, you never saw news headlines about the Bilderberg Group. Here's the Times of London. Secretive Bilderberg Club ready for protest. And it's a high-powered meeting of Committee of 300 members, but it's not as secretive as the overall Committee of 300. And I've researched this, and our guest is dead on and has the documents, and he has the book, which you could call the Bible of conspiracy theories, but it's not theories, it's fact. And, of course, that's the Committee of 300. Coleman300.com is the website. And we cover their endgame eugenics agenda in, of course, my film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. And, folks, this isn't a joke. You know, they stalled you and said there's no secret groups, there's no world government, there's no derivatives, the bankers aren't engaged in fractional reserve banking, the government's not shipping in narcotics, everything's fine, go back to sleep. Now they admit all that's happening, but saying it's good. Fox TV says we're growing opium, it's good. Yes, world government's real, but it's good. Well, from my research, this ends with a authoritarian world government with one-child policy at the bare minimum. Now, you were finishing up going down the diamond mines, and, of course, the De Beers Oppenheimer global diamond monopoly set up by the Milner Group. I've read documents from Milner at the end of World War I in 1919. These are public, saying we've got to get some type of thug dictator in Germany and set them up for the next war. I mean, that's the wide-reaching, long-term view. So they get Wall Street and the general public in a quarterly mindset, only thinking about the present and profits now, but they're all positioned for the long-term win. Okay, and we get so many intellectuals on here and researchers who say, oh, no, the elite are short-sighted. But when you look at their long-term plans, their admitted Ford Foundation operations, Brzezinski's 25- and 50-year plans. No. Of course, the political science head at Georgetown, Carol Quigley, he says 30-year, 50-year plans. So, no, it is quarter-century time frame, bare minimum, as Aldous Huxley, part of these elite families, wrote. In 1933, it's all coming true. So going back to Dr. Coleman, what is their end game then? What is their final agenda? Should we be concerned about these autocrats running everything?
We should be very concerned if we want to keep our republic. And the United States is not a democracy, it's a republic. Let me make that clear. You cannot have a democracy in a confederated republic. Our principles may be democratic, but our actual form of government is Republican. That should settle that question. And, of course, we ought to be concerned because here you have an organization that's permeated every strata of our society. It's into the members of the Senate and the House, and it does everything regarding controlling our foreign policy, our monetary policy, and everything that the government issues or talks about or makes its policy comes originally out of the Committee of 300. Now, that sounds awfully far-fetched. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, this guy, he's off the wall. Well, they said that to me in 1972. They told me to go and hang myself. They did all kinds of nasty things to me. But if you look back at my record, you'll find that I've made over 500 predictions. I hate to use the word, but I said these things were going to happen in the future, and I think that most of them, we went through them just the other day, and most of them have come to pass. So I think I've got a fairly good record as far as...
Well, you've done the research. I mean, these scallywags are on record if somebody just digs through the government archives and stacks, and you've been preeminent in exposing the overall black nobility, I guess you could call them, the committee.
Yes, that's right.
And of course, would you agree with some of the other historians we've had on that this ties into England, Germany, the Dutch, but also the model that the British picked up out of some of the Italian families?
Oh, absolutely. The Italian families, like the Renatis, they were the model of this organization. And most of these people, the old Florentine and Venetian black nobility, they were not black, their skins weren't black, but they were known as black nobility by the people of the cities because their deeds were so evil that they could not stand the light of day. And they didn't take too much trouble to hide them either. That's why they called them the black nobility. And, that's the dynasty that Queen Victoria of England sprang from. So I'll give you some idea just how big these organizations have grown.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people now that are out there that and have basically taken your work on the black nobility and basically declare it as their own. But that's the greatest form of flattery is imitation.
I know that, and I think my work might well be in the United States anyway. This type of information, the most plagiarized of all books of the conspiracy theories. But that's all right as long as we get the news out there. That's the main thing.
Well, let's continue. You talked about an autocratic, oppressive world government. So from their documents, from the research, are they on schedule? Brzezinski 2 weeks ago told the CFR for the first time the world is awake to their world government, that they're in trouble. A, do you agree with that? And B, flesh out from your research the type of world they want to build.
Well, they have been uncovered. That's the whole thing. That's not something they bargained for. They certainly didn't bargain for that at all. It strives, as I said, for a one-world government, a new world order inside a one-world government. That's the ultimate. Where you have a few people at the very top, and you have the middle management, and then you have the lower management, and then you have what's called the masses. That's us, that's me, that's you. And we are destined to be controlled through population control, various measures, worldwide disease and wars. But Bertrand Russell, their senior statesman, once said that wars hitherto have been disappointing. They haven't killed enough people. So what he said, we need to reintroduce periodically plagues like the Black Plague, where millions of people get wiped out until we get to our optimum size population. These are the things that are very, very real. They're not the figments of my imagination, believe me.
No, I've actually got the Bertrand Russell books where he talks about that, and then he's hailed as a liberal. And he talks about the scientific dictatorship where a revolt of the commoners will be as impossible as a revolt of sheep against the practice of eating mutton. Exactly.
That's exactly what the intention was. And, you know, I had to bring Hitler into the thing, but Hitler's, at least the German eugenics program, was actually started in America by the mother of the late Averell Harriman. She had a eugenics society based in Upper New York State, and she had a huge meeting in when I think it was about 1921. I'm not sure of the date of the eugenics societies, and a lot of German dignitaries came, and that's actually where Hitler got his extermination policies.
Well, the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute was fully bankrolled by the Rockefeller family on record.
Absolutely correct.